Can you beat Star Wars The Force Unleashed without using a lightsaber? That was the question I had after recently revisiting one of my all-time favorite Star Wars games. I was kinda in a Star Wars mood and I originally planned to do a no lightsabers playthrough for Jedi Fallen Order, but someone else already made a video like that. So I went back to the classics, to a Force user so powerful that he could put Cal Kestis to the ground. Hell, he could even spit on Obi-Wan while at the same time force pulling a whole moon on Yoda. Meet Starkiller. Yes, he comes from a time where Star Wars games were super unrealistic, McDonald's made good Happy Meal toys, and music artists like Katy Perry or Lady Gaga made their debut. I'm talking about the late 2000s. The game is called The Force Unleashed, so surely we should be able to just use the Force to beat it, right? It's in the name after all. Will I be able to do it? Let's find out, but here are some rules. I'm not allowed to attack with my lightsaber at all. I can only use Force powers like grip, pull and lightning. The game has a lot of quicktime events, especially at the end of boss fights. Often enough, Starkiller uses his lightsaber in those cutscenes, and they don't count of course, since they are scripted. I also want to mention that I played on a normal difficulty setting. So let's begin. Our story starts on Kashyyyk, the home planet of the Wookiees. We actually play as Darth Vader in the prologue. We made a strong entrance and force choke our commander for a lack of competence. But in my opinion that's not enough, so I also force push away the first stormtrooper I see. It's about sending a message, you know. For the rest of the level I used force push against a few dozen Wookiees, and they stood no chance.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
I even saw a Wookiee who slipped while next to me in the elevator. Jesus, why are elevator rides always so awkward? Anyways, of course I killed him too. Finally, I found the rogue Jedi. Although he was the first boss, he was easy to defeat without a lightsaber, since I could just use force push again. In the cutscene, Vader force choked him, which was nice since I told him about the no lightsaber run. When a small boy showed up, I was also ready to gift him my lightsaber since I would not need it anymore. However, some stormtroopers came along and wanted to kill him, so Vader used the lightsaber to strike them down. Damn. And just like that, he messed up our playthrough. The boy almost started crying because of it and I couldn't blame him. Fast forward and the kid is now grown up and secretly Vader's new apprentice. Though he still looks like an angry teenager with an obsession for My Chemical Romance. Vader tells us to kill a Jedi somewhere, so I make my way to the ship. I meet Proxy, my droid best friend, who sometimes wants to kill me by impostoring as a Jedi. And although he was turning into Obi-Wan Kenobi and had the high ground, he still couldn't beat me. Wow. The audacity of this game. Then we saw our new pilot and let's just say Starkiller started simping for her. Naturally, I asked Proxy to stalk her profile and to check her linktree, but before we found out if she sold Empire bathwater, she sneaked up behind us. It was kinda awkward, but in the end, we introduced each other, and I asked if we could fly by a space McDonald's before we head to our next destination, but she said we don't have time for that, so I was angry and hungry. We arrive and I begin to bully droids with the Force as every evil Sith Lord should. In hunger, I faced some good and bad enemies. It didn't matter, I had to kill all of them to not leave any trace for the Emperor. So that's why you see me kill stormtroopers. Basically I force gripped them and threw them as far away as I could. That's also how I killed like 90% of all normal enemies in this whole game. I also tried to collect as much force power-ups as possible, so I could upgrade my force grip, pull and lightning attack. I mentioned that only once, but I constantly upgraded those abilities till the end and ignored all abilities that focused on lightsaber combat, because I didn't use that. Then I finally faced General Kota. He was not too difficult. The first phase was easy enough, but on the second one he was kinda annoying. The good thing was that the floor would basically become lava for some time, so I tried to push him into it for maximum damage. It worked after a few tries. He stood no chance. Well, on the next planet I mixed things up and bullied Javas instead of droids. I also faced some mini-type boss enemies that required quick-time events in the end. Thank God I learned Force Lightning at this point. It made killing bigger enemies a lot easier. I then faced Kasdan Paratus, the next main boss in this game. Well, he didn't have a strong defense and I could simply use Force Lightning to damage him. He also called in a smaller boss enemy when he got hurt, which was annoying to be honest, but even that didn't change anything, he was gonna die anyways. After that intense fight, I went back to my ship and wanted some, alone time. So I started playing with my lightsaber when Vader suddenly interrupted me. Seriously, he could have at least knocked first. Anyways, he gave me a new target and we had to go to Felucia. There I had to kill Jedi Master Shaak Ti. Nothing crazy happened, so I just skipped to the boss fight. I used Force Repulse to damage her because she could deflect my Force Lightning. Sometimes she flew into explosive plants and got some extra damage, which made the fight even easier. So she was really not a problem and the fight didn't take long at all. Then I reported back at Vader's ship. Turns out the Emperor's spies followed me. Well, because of that, Vader suddenly killed me with his lightsaber and yeeted me into space. But somehow I survived. Anyways, still makes more sense than Leia force flying back into her ship in episode 8, right? Yeah, let's not talk about that scene. Well, we wake up and have to rescue our pilot. I blast through the enemies, but at this part I wanted to show you how easy and satisfying it was to force grip the Imperial generals into the laser shield. Look, they went simply poof. It's funny, sorry. We have a new mission and need to find General Kota again. He survived, but ever since I cleaned the lava floor with his face, he started drinking. Honestly, I can't blame him, I would be embarrassed too. So I kill a few dozen stormtroopers with the Force until we meet the Shadow Guard boss. This one was honestly a bit of a challenge. At first he deflected all of my Force attacks. Push and lightning didn't do anything. At some point he even pushed me out of bounds. It was quite funny. I had to readjust my playstyle a bit. Force Repulse was still doing damage. I also had an unlimited energy power-up lying around somewhere, so I did what Palpatine did to Master Windu in episode 3. Unlimited power. Talking about some iconic characters, our next mission was to rescue Princess Leia. Well, at first I had to face some really annoying flamethrower enemies, and after some progression I faced another Shadow Guard boss. Good thing was that I had help from a Wookiee NPC. Together we easily killed him. I talked to Leia and she ordered me to destroy some tower thing. Honestly, I have no idea what or why we did it, but on our way we faced yet another Shadow Guard, and this time I had like an army of Wookiee soldiers with me and they all bullied him. I still had to do some quick time event for the finishing blow though, like always. But anyways, we destroyed the tower and left the planet. At the same time, Senator Organa got captured by the now evil Jedi Padawan Maris on Felucia. The planet basically corrupted her in a way, so she became an even bigger baddie. Needless to say, I had to rescue the Senator. In her boss fight, she used a Rancor to fight me. It was so annoying. I could dodge the attacks, but it took forever to bring his health down with Force Lightning. I even died once, it was so close. On my next attempt, I used Force Repulse instead. And wow, turns out this ability is really the strongest one by far. It does a lot of damage, and if you charge it up, it even breaks the defense of main boss enemies. So, needless to say, Maris also stood no chance. I defeated her really fast, but also kinda fell in love with her at the same time. I mean, we just had this chemistry, you know? Of course I couldn't kill her. So I asked her for a date. She gave me her snap and told me we could watch the Clone Wars together sometimes. I said Roger and got to the next planet. We went back to Rex's Prime and I had to fight against our own droid for some reason. He turned into some previous bosses, but then he switched to Darth Maul. And oh boy, I heard Duel of the Fates emerging. Talking about intense boss fight music, am I right? It was epic, and he absolutely destroyed me a few times because he just blocked all of my attacks. I used some explosive barrels to break his defense and lightning to damage him. That did the trick. Then it was finally time to pull down a Star Destroyer from the orbit. Yeah, it's the iconic trailer mission of this game. Honestly, I was looking so much forward to do this, but when I finally got to the point, it was the worst video game experience I had in a very long time. Turns out the controls are absolutely stupid, at least on PC. It took me way too long. I tried to decipher the commands on screen, but every time I made the tiniest bit of progress, a new wave of TIE fighters came along. It was so unfair because it reset the ship's position. It took me 45 minutes and I looked up 10-year-old Steam archives with useful tips for this QuickTime event, until I finally did it. It was time for the final act. The rebellion came together to fight against the Empire, but before they could plan anything, Darth Vader attacked them and ratioed Starkiller with the best meme template ever.
You agreed to stay away! I lied.
Of course, it was time to be an actual Jedi for once and to free my new allies. We made our way to the Death Star and Juno finally admitted that she had a crush on me the whole time. She gave me a final kiss and I passed out. Now, I had to fight tons of stormtroopers and, well, of course, I had to vaporize some with the gigantic Death Star lasers. I mean, how could I not, right? It was so satisfying. Then, I finally faced Darth Vader. He showed up in some random corridor, but instead of running away and stabbing myself with my own lightsaber, like some little bitch, I faced him and began a fight. Vader was of course strong. I utilized his moments where he charged his force push attack. I sneaked up behind him and electrocuted him. In the next phase, he non-stop threw random stuff at me. I couldn't even stand up sometimes, that's how hard he threw shit at me. I died a couple of times. And I was also not a fan of the camera angle in this fight. It made attacking him more difficult. Anyways, when I was lucky enough to get a hit on him, I dashed towards him and used more lightning, until he moved to the final phase. There I dodged his attacks and damaged him from behind. I also won every lightning phase of event to do even more damage, and then I almost killed him. The cutscene started and I was faced with a choice. Do I rescue my friends and face the Emperor, or do I finish Vader once and for all? Well, I was torn, but I thought I had to finish Vader, embrace the dark side and kill him to take his place as the new Sith Lord. So I did. I died a few times until I discovered that Force Repulse is still the best attack in this game. So I damaged him after some charges and his health went down. I did the QuickTime event and stabbed him with his own lightsaber. Epic. Of course, it was too late to save my friends, and the Emperor was too powerful. He straight up demolished me in a cutscene and made me his new Sith killer to do his bidding. The end. Wow, wait. Does this mean... Yes, I didn't have to use a single lightsaber attack in this playthrough. No way, you can beat this game without the lightsaber? Here it is, confirmed. Wow, honestly, I didn't expect it. I thought the game would for sure make us use the lightsaber in some areas. And again, if we don't count QuickTime finisher moves, we didn't use it. That's pretty cool, and I'm happy that it all worked out like that. Wait, hold on. Actually, I wasn't done yet. I had more DLC content laying around, and so I had to absolutely devastate some more iconic characters. I killed Boba Fett first. It was the easiest fight ever. It almost was as easy as killing regular stormtroopers. He stood no chance to my Force lightning. Next, I met Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine. This one was more like a challenge. The first phase was again pretty easy, but once you kill Obi-Wan, he becomes a Force ghost and oh man, does he have strong attacks. He does this one charged lightsaber attack that took away a good chunk of my health every time. It's also hard to predict. Although I had the potential of some environmental explosive barrels, it was still hard. He used Jedi mind tricks to mess up my controls, and Force Repulse wasn't always breaking his defense. I ended up staying close to him, so that he would use normal saber attacks instead of the powerful charged one, and then I waited for the right opportunity to get behind him and to use Force Lightning. Obi-Wan was done. And then it was time for the big showdown. Luke Skywalker. He was hiding on Hoth and the first encounter was a joke. He was weak and pathetic. I had to show him who was the master. On the next fight, he was trying a bit harder, but I could still beat him. But then, after completely destroying him twice, Luke gets corrupted by the dark side and turns into fallen Luke. And oh man, he was finally a worthy opponent. Hours and hours of playing this game and finally in the end I had a decent challenge. Luke destroyed me countless times. Since he used the dark side, he also used Force Lightning on me, and it just drained my health non-stop. My Force Repulse and Lightning seemed to not do anything as well. But then I found the solution. If I had a full Force bar before Luke attacked me with his Lightning, I could actually kinda absorb the attack and direct it back at him. That's how I ultimately got the win. I did it a few times and saved my Force until he would attack again and boom. It was done. Luke was finished. I said nice try kid and adopted him as my new apprentice. The end. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe I brought back some nostalgia. And hey, if you want to see me do even more challenges like that, please consider subscribing. I mean, I'd love to beat other Star Wars games like that. And maybe you have an idea for a challenge, then go ahead and write it in the comments. But yeah, anyways, thanks again and be the Force with you. Bye.